Hello, Aldwyn Altuney here. Welcome to Media Queen TV. We have the amazing Dalase Shilling with us today from the 2 Hours Circle. This is a fantastic initiative. It is his baby that he's been working on for about 3 years now. And we're going to talk today about food history and the occasional mystery. Welcome, Dalase.
G'day, mate. How you going? It's really good to be here.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you here, Dalase. Now, we met not too long ago at the Key Business Network event out at Ipswich, and Ipswich is a fantastic area. I know I used to work at the Queensland Times in Ipswich years ago, and I lived in Ipswich, and it's amazing how much history and how much mystery there is in the area that a lot of people would have no idea about. And of course, food is a huge thing for most people. So what was it that got you started on this project, Dalase?
Well, that's an interesting question because it was actually a motorcycle that got us going in the first place. Went out and bought the dream motorcycle, as you tend to do when you get towards my age, or a midlife crisis or something. We just put that to one side. But I bought this beautiful big motorcycle, and I was fairly popular in the real estate scene at the time. And I just put a thing up on Facebook and said to all my friends, hey, I've just bought this great motorcycle. Where's a good place to go for a ride? And within about 3 minutes, I had not less than 40-something destinations where you could go. Some of these places were just 15 minutes up the road. And I've been living here at the time for like more than 20 years. I had no idea that these places even existed. So we started getting out on the motorcycle and we started video logging where we were going and what we were doing. And then we realised that there was an opportunity to do something much bigger than that. And that's how the 2 Hour Circle was born. The opportunity to highlight these destinations, let people know that these tiny towns exist, let people know that the small businesses within these towns exist, and to do just that little bit for the food and beverage industry, which has been hit fairly hard with the whole COVID scenario as well.
Fantastic. I love it. It's so interesting how much amazingness we have within a short drive that we're often not aware of. I would say this is a thing all over the world. And it's only really when something happens, like you say, you got on the motorbike, something happened, or when tourists come to visit or people come to visit you and you think, I'll show them around. And then you look up what's actually around and you're quite blown away by what's in the area. So I'm very curious, what are some of the standout places that you've been to within the 2 Hour Circle from Ipswich?
We get to stumble across all sorts of fun stuff, but let's start in Ipswich because look, 20 years ago, back in the 90s, you couldn't get a cup of coffee to save your life. Now there's a quality coffee restaurant, cafe, whatever you want to call it, just about on every street corner, and the food that's coming out of Ipswich is world class. It would rival anything that you don't have to go to Brisbane anymore in order to get quality food, quality coffee, that kind of stuff. It's all here. So what a great launch pad for me to head out and find these places. But wow, do we stumble across some stuff? There's a pub out past Toowoomba there somewhere that is probably the longest running pub in Queensland. And not only can you grab an amazing feed there, but out the back they've got the original old lockup. So there's things that the cell where if you'd had a few too many beers, the publican would just sort of escort you out the back and put you in the drunk tank for the night so that you were safe. And by the time you did get home, the only thing you had to worry about from the missus was the rolling pin. But look, probably one of the highlights is the old theatre at Clifton. Over 100 years old, never been renovated. And because, we are the 2 Hour Circle and people sort of get an idea as to who we are, we rolled into Clifton unannounced. And we walked into the tourist information centre there, and the lady took a total double take. She goes, "Oh, I know you. You're the 2 Hour Circle man." And instantly she had cancelled her entire afternoon just to accommodate us. And we got access to things that, some people might not get access to, and we got the opportunity to share that with our audience. But that beautiful old theatre there were posters from movies, and the posters had been there since the day they were put up, back in the 50s and 60s.
Wow.
If you were to get your hands on some of these posters, they're probably worth a fortune. The Mary Sharon's just giving me notes. The old shows like Carry On and things like that, you probably wouldn't remember unless you're sort of in that age bracket. Old Clint Eastwood films, like some of the very first films that Clint Eastwood did, the posters are still on the wall. You can smell the musty old theatre. The old ticket box is still there. And the old pianola that they used to use to entertain patrons is still there in working order. In fact, the lady who's looking after the place was able to play a couple of tunes for us. And we actually used that as the soundtrack for the video log that we made to highlight Clifton. So we get access to some extraordinarily and wonderful stuff.
Phenomenal. Wow. I'd love to see those places. That is so great. And we've got Anita with us. Hello, Anita. Good to see you there. She says the 2 Hour Circle and beyond. And Luke is with us as well. Luke, nice to see you. 2 Hour Circle and beyond. So did you start out just as a 2 Hour Circle and then venture past that to add the beyond? Is that correct?
Well, we didn't want it to be the Dalase Shilling show, because the original name of it was the 2 Hour Circle with Dalase Shilling. And then we sort of realised that there was a much bigger scope there. So to not make it about me, because it's not about me, it's about the destinations that are out there and the people that we get to help, those people and those businesses that get that 15 minutes of fame. And the 2 Hour Circle and beyond allows us to get right out in that southeast corner. And that's what we'll be doing into 2022. There's so much more out there. And it amazes me the pockets and that little pieces of history and little destinations that you find that link directly back to Ipswich. The Cobb and Co is always a good link back to Ipswich, but you'll find the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail is a great link back to Ipswich. Remembering, of course, that Ipswich had a great mining history and a great railway history. So all of the railway that traversed all the way out through what we call the 2 Hour Circle is all connected to Ipswich.
Amazing. And I just want to thank Luke from Respected Cleaners for sponsoring this show here today. We have his logo right here, so you can support our supporters here, Respected Cleaners. There they are. And how did you come to know Luke, Dallas?
Luke's a member of the community, and he's got his shoulder to the wheel all the time. So he quite often calls upon me, and we work together on various different charitable things and community events and that sort of stuff. And Luke's been watching what I've been doing with the 2 Hour Circle for quite some time, and he finally put his hand up and said, you know what, this thing's going to go off at some point, and I want to be in. I want to be part of it. And Luke, along with a number of other people in the community, have offered me a considerable amount of respect for the amount of effort that goes into doing what we do, and quite often for very little in the way of funds. But it very much is a community thing. At some point, we have to look at trying to, fill the bank account, but that's a problem for later on. Right now, it's about getting the message out there and getting the concept out there so that people can actually get onto it and support it. And I mean, even through our food experiences, people are getting onto that side of it, because we're going to restaurants that are local that people didn't know. They didn't know were there. They just were like, well, I didn't know that place even existed. I'll have to come in and have a look. But picking up audience from Toowoomba and Kalbar and all of those other places that are out and about there, they're now looking towards Ipswich and going, well, I didn't know that was there. We might trundle down the hill and participate in that, and lots of little quirky eateries like your rock and roll cafes and your retro diners and places like that, themed restaurants. These things are starting to make a comeback. There's a beautiful themed place called Scotty's Garage out in the Toowoomba region. and that is full-on rock and roll, vintage themed, and it's so much fun. You walk in there, and you go back to the time that you were sitting in front of the TV watching Happy Days and all of those iconic TV shows. It brings your childhood back. You can walk into these places and just absorb the nostalgia. Very much like some of the places where you can walk in, like that old theatre, you can feel the nostalgia, you can absorb the history of it, and it's not like going back in time, but it's like being allowed to be part of what was there once before. So
I love it.
Some of the old pioneer villages and that sort of stuff. Now, I'm only just pushing past 50 now, and I walk into some of these places, some of these pioneer villages, and I see things that I used to use when I was a kid, and they're in a museum now. It's like, oh, come on, guys, that's a little bit unfair. But at the same time, you get to show people what these things are, and people will walk past items in a museum and have no clue what they are. There's a rusty piece of crap or whatever. But I will pick it up and go and know exactly what it is because I've used it, or I know someone who's used it, or I've seen it used, and people will be like, wow, that's really, really cool. Some of the technology that was available back in the day is remarkably clever, considering the resources or the lack of resources that these guys had in order to get things done. So the ingenuity on its own is really quite fascinating, and that's where the larger part of our male audience sort of comes in and go, oh, I remember using one of those, or my dad had one of those when he was a kid, or my grandfather used to ride around on one of those. And I think that's where we kind of strike a chord with our audience, because there's always something that we do that resonates with somebody's past, and very, very fond memories in a lot of cases.
Well before the days of internet and social media and all, probably even before TV, right? Before all that time.
Yeah. See, I'm a big believer in the kids should be out there climbing trees. They shouldn't be sitting there and looking at their phones. I reckon they should be out there learning how to drive tractors and climbing trees and swimming in the dam and catching yabbies and all that kind of stuff that we used to do when we were a kid. I mean, technology is a wonderful thing, but I think it's robbed us of some of life's real experiences. And, I try and fascinate people and get people back to that a lot of with what we do in the 2 Hour Circle. Look at what we've found. Look at how we used to do things when we were kids and all that sort of stuff. And the older part of our audience, they love it because it has that nostalgic. But some of the younger kids who I speak to from time to time, they're like, you know what, that's so cool. I didn't know that that's how things were done. I'd seen one of those in my dad's shed and I didn't know what it was, And they can now go out and they can pick that item up off the shelf in dad's shed or garage or whatever, or granddad's shed or garage, and go, hey, I saw this thing on the 2 Hour Circle. This guy had one of these on the 2 Hour Circle. I know what this is. And all of a sudden you've got a conversation with your elders, and get the opportunity to have more of that and less time staring at your iPhone.
Yes, I love that. And Anita's saying here, there's so many hidden gems out there.
Well, Anita rides with us from time to time, so she gets to see the project from the inside out, which is very, very rare. We have a small group of people who ride or drive with us, and Anita helps out behind the scenes and sometimes helps us, with a little bit of photography or keeping people away while we're trying to film or answering questions, that sort of stuff. So, she gets the benefit of seeing what we do firsthand. So nice. It's great to have Anita tuning in.
Nice. I like it. And you've got on your website here, the 2hourcircle.com.au. You've got a great video on there. You've got drives and rides, food reviews, history, destinations, mystery sponsors on there, some lovely testimonials. So it's a really comprehensive website there with lots of things. So if people want to actually go on a trip around there, is it best for them to sort of see some of your videos and suggestions, or do you actually also take them out on tours as well?
We
How does
are
it work?
not. Yeah, we've sort of dabbled with the idea of tag-along tours and that sort of stuff, but it's the insurance at the moment that has us sort of standing back and going, hey, look, do we want to go down that road? The idea of the 2-hour circle is that we want to be the most recognisable platform for people who wake up on a Saturday morning scratching their chin and going, geez, I really need to get out of the house. Where can I go? And the idea is that if you watch one of our videos or read one of our blogs or whatever, within 15 minutes, without any planning whatsoever, you can be on the bike or in the car and on your way to somewhere we've been. So it's already familiar to you. You have an expectation as to what you're going to see, but then you get to see it with your own eyes, in your own time. You're not sort of stuck with the idea of a scheduled tour. Like, guys, we're getting here at about 8:30. We're going to leave here at about 11 o'clock. So you need to order your lunch and all that sort of stuff. And we have to be out the door by 11. At least if you're viewing what we do on your computer or on your device or whatever it is, you can then go and enjoy that adventure in your own time, see it with your own eyes, and you can modify that tour or adventure to suit yourself. I've got a family member that lives up there, so we might go up to that old cafe that Dallas was at the other day and stop at the old pub up the hill. And I think my auntie lives just around the corner from that pub. We'll stop in and see her on the day as well. The idea is that you get to do it completely unsupervised, which is probably not a good thing for me. I get out there unsupervised. You never know what's going to happen.
Oh, that's funny. Well, it is. That's right. People can do it at their leisure. So it gives them some great ideas on what is available in the region. So when we say 2 hours and beyond, how far does that actually go?
Well, we reckon that, look, the idea of the 2 hours is an acceptable travel distance from anyone's house. So we kind of focused in that southeast corner. So anywhere that you can travel within 2 hours of your home is what we want to know about. So now, to muddy the waters there a little bit, we have a licensee who operates out of Tasmania. So he lives in Launceston. So 2 hours from Launceston is pretty much the whole island. So I just take the whole island. So he's now reporting from us from Launceston, and he's now one of our 5 presenters who's presenting history, food from Tasmania, and he's getting out there on his own motorcycle and in his own little car. He's got a little granny car that he drives, and you don't want to talk about that. It's an old Barina or something. But he does occasionally get his motorcycle out of the shed. But he's doing the same thing, food, history, and the occasional mystery. Now, Tasmania is rich in history. So I think here in the Queensland part of the 2 hour circle, we could probably go back as far as the 1840s. Whereas in Tasmania, you can go all the way back to about 1803.
Wow.
So he gets a much bigger slice of the history pie than what we do. And with that, there are bound to be mysteries. So he reported back to me privately the other day that he had stumbled across a ghost story that was somewhat perplexing to him. And we have yet to do this, but we actually have a paranormal expert as one of our presenters. So we're going to take that story to our paranormal expert and go, hey, what's going on here? What are your thoughts before we actually present the video? So watch this space.
So ghost tours are very popular. I know around Brisbane, around Sydney. I've been to one around the Rocks area there, which I found fascinating. And I'm sure that would be just a brilliant thing to do, to look into that.
Well, Queensland's Most Haunted is our partner for that. And, you're not going to see me camping overnight, running around with a torch with a Geiger counter or whatever they call it, looking for ghosts of the night time. But I do love the stories. And we actually have Queensland's Most Haunted, and they present for us as well once a week or once a fortnight on the 2 hour circle platform. So you're actually getting the history and the ghost story which fits right in with what we do. And she comes up with some fascinating stuff. And I quite often stumble across stuff and things like that. And the first thing I do is contact her and go, hey, look, I stumbled across this, what are your thoughts? And during 2022, we'll expand on that. We went to a house, and I can't remember the name of the house at the moment, but just out near Toowoomba. I think it might have been, Sharon's telling me it's Glengallen House. So really interesting tale there. So around Glengallen House is a mass of rural property. And there was a young lad who I think his parents worked the property next door, or they worked what was part of Glengallen at the time. And he had his own little horse and sulky. And unfortunately, the little bloke died because the sulky turned over in the creek and he couldn't get out. Now, this is way back in the early days. Now, pause that for a second, and there's a young family in Brisbane. Now, mum, dad, and a little girl. So they live in Brisbane, and the little girl is quite often known for talking to ghosts at their home in Brisbane. So her parents are not unfamiliar with the idea of her talking to spectres and that sort of stuff. So they go for a day trip out to Glengallen. And one of the volunteers out at Glengallen, walking past the little girl, stopped and said, hey, sweetie, who are you talking to? And the little girl's going, oh, the boy from the creek. And up until then, Glengallen staff had no idea that they had a ghost.
Wow.
So it's just all sorts of fascinating stuff. Now, we did actually go to the trouble of finding out the little boy's name and all that sort of stuff. And you can find all of that on the Facebook page. We will eventually get all of that sort of stuff on the website. We have a guy at the moment who's working tirelessly behind the scenes to get that website up to be as comprehensive as we can possibly make it. All of the details that you want to get at a moment's notice will eventually be on that 2 Hour Circle website. So you can look up anything that I'm talking to you about today, anything that you see a video on, we will expand on that onto the website as time goes on. But it is a massive undertaking. And the problem that Sharon and I have at the moment is that we've now got to the point where we can't do it all by ourselves anymore. We've grown to a point where we've had to get people to help us. So we have a lovely lady who looks after our Instagram now. I've managed to, Instagram for me is like, what is this? To me, Instagram's like snakes and ladders. But for Trishy, she's like, oh, don't worry about Instagram. I've got that covered. We've got a guy now who's looking after the website. He's looking after the YouTube side of it. Google My Business, all that sort of stuff. So that allows me to focus on the things that I'm good at. And that is bringing you guys what you want to see, what's out there. Where's he going next? Where am I going to pop up next? So having said that, where am I going to pop up next? We are done for the year. You might have seen our Christmas video with our 5 presenters. I don't think people realised that we had 5 presenters, but that is, again, that's represent. It started out with me sitting on the back of my motorcycle waffling on about where I am and how I got here. And now we have 5 separate presenters. So we've got Greg, who's talking to you about the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail. And I don't think we'll ever run out of content there. You've got Maya from the Queensland's Most Haunted. You've got young Shazza. She's looking after the Ipswich side of things. So she does a little thing for us called What the Plaque. So all around Ipswich, you'll find all of these bronze plaques. And I'm sure everybody's driven past these things 1,000 times and go, I really must stop there and have a look at and see what that plaque's about. Well, she's doing that for you. So she'll actually stop, look at the plaque, get a photo of the plaque, and give you a rundown on why it's there. And, if there's a house behind it or a silo or an old train station. We even had one on an old water trough. So the water trough up at the top of Tivoli Hill, that was where all the young blokes used to socialise. They'd come in and water their horses and that sort of stuff. And if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure that's the only one of those water troughs that's left in all of Ipswich. But people drive past that water trough 1,000 times a day. They have no clue why it's there. There's a plaque there. They go, I really must stop. Very hard to stop at that particular location. So Shazza did that for us, and she's put a video log together and tells you what it is, why it's there. And there are hundreds of those dotted around Ipswich, and some of them are iconic houses. Some of them are old hospital buildings, that sort of thing, old railway destinations. There's so much there, and we are going to bring each and every one of those to you through What the Plaque. Of course, there's myself doing what I do, and then there's Ashley coming out of Tasmania. So that's all 5 of us doing what we do. Eventually, we will have more licensees. So if you are interested in becoming a licensee for the 2 Hour Circle and want to do what I do, I can show you how. And all you need to do is drop us a line, send us an email. You can email us through the Facebook page. There's any number of ways that you can contact me, and I will hook you up. I will show you how it's done. Ashley's up and running. He's doing it. I'm doing it, and we're now looking for people all over Australia and New Zealand who will want to licensee with the 2 Hour Circle and have the same sort of experience that what we do. So if you're handy in front of a camera and have a curious nature and don't want a bit of good tucker, you might want to drop me a line.
Awesome. I love it. And what about other parts of the world? We've got Sonia here coming from Bali. Hello, Sonia. Good to see you. What about other parts of the world? Are you going to just stay to Australia and New Zealand at this stage?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. We do have, we do talk to a guy in Europe occasionally who comes through us through one of our fans. We do have audience all over the world. I quite often am surprised by, you look at your phone list and you look at where our stats are, and it amazes me. Occasionally we'll have an audience in Greece, we've got an audience in the UK, we've got an audience in New Zealand, we have an audience in America, and it's phenomenal where people are picking us up from. So the only way for us is up, to be honest.
Yes.
And I haven't worried about it. I think there's a few people in town who sort of look down their nose and go, well, how's this guy making any money out of this? And the truth is, I haven't worried about the money side of it too much at this stage. It's time now to turn that part of the business model on, and that's happening. And we have access to some of the most wonderful switched on business people in Ipswich who are helping us with that. But up until now, it hasn't really been about the money. It's about allowing the project to evolve. And I think one of the best things that I ever did was just for a little while let go of the reins and let the business evolve on its own, let the project become what it wanted to become. Because whilst ever I was trying to drive it and control it and that sort of stuff, it wasn't working. It was very frustrating and that sort of stuff. And then what I did was I went back to my corporate environment, and I remembered, every time a new project or a new program came out, it came out with these pillars. There were 7 pillars of how we were going to do this, And I thought to myself, you know what, there's a bit of merit in that. So I came up with my very own 3 business pillars, which are food, history, and mystery, which then loaned itself very nicely to a great little catchphrase: food, history, and the occasional mystery.
I love
and that's
that.
where we are. That's where we are now.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you say on your website here. The world is changing, and the way tourism works is inevitably going to change also. But there's something that hasn't changed, and that is tiny towns. And the small businesses within them rely heavily on the drive-through or ride-through tourist dollar to keep them going. And you've said here a large part of your audience is the hot rod and motorcycle community, although you also have local driving schools, scores of young people who've just gained their P plate license. So who connects your town, your business? We do. So really, this is something I think could apply worldwide, and particularly with all these travel restrictions. I think it's fantastic that local people can expose what's going on in their local area. For those that can't travel because of whatever mandates and restrictions that are going on with travel and border closures and all that kind of stuff, I think it's a really wonderful way to celebrate what is going on in the community and to really get it out to the world. So I really love the concept of it. And I think having licensees is brilliant. So that's a really great opportunity for people to get involved and showcase their area and help tourism, help businesses, because, there's no doubt about it, businesses have suffered a lot. In fact, they're saying about a third of businesses will close by the end of January 2022 is the stats in Australia at the moment. That's how hard they've been hit. So, I take my hat off to anyone who is in business, and particularly in the tourism industry where you've got something really unique to showcase. Unfortunately, with so many government mandates, it's made it really tough on business. And, the constant control measures. And now, as of today in Queensland, saying people have to be double vaccinated to be able to enter restaurants, bars, cafes. Many tourist destinations are also, festivals, things like that. It's really, going to take its toll, I think, on a lot more businesses as these mandates keep rolling out, and so much unpredictability in that whole world with COVID, so it's definitely been challenging. So I think for you to start this 3 years ago before COVID and to actually be growing through that time, you've actually now got 5 presenters, through that period, is great testament that this is something that maybe more so is even more needed now because so many people just cannot travel for one reason or another.
Well, we work really, really hard to try and keep those businesses open and let people know that those businesses are there. I just have to say that I never thought that I would live in a time where we were going to witness any kind of segregation. And I think that's what this is going to bring.
Yeah.
I won't go much. I don't want to talk about that too much. I mean, I am double vaxxed because I have some health issues that say this is, if I want to continue doing what I'm doing, I've got to be double vaxxed. There's no way out of it for me. But I still believe that people have the right to choose. That is going to cause a problem. Be interesting to see how that problem is resolved, but it won't stop us from doing what we do. We work quite closely with little towns. There's a town probably 40 minutes from where I live. It's called Lowood, and it's always great to see a new business pop up in Lowood. There's a little place called Calbar out in the scenic rim, and it's getting huge accolades at the moment. So to see tiny little towns have new businesses pop up is exactly what we want to see. And the more ground that we can cover and get out there and put our shoulders to the wheel to make sure that people know that these businesses exist will help to not only get them started but keep them going. But then you've got all these little places that have been going for years and years and years, and people have never heard of them. And it's like, well, we need to get out there and tell people that these places exist. I've got to say good day to my mate Tim out at Moore. Now, Moore's one of those little blink and you miss it type towns, but it has a stellar history. I think it was a railway town originally, and now it really is one of those places where if you blink, you'll miss it, and you will miss out on one of the best cup of coffees that you can get out in the tourist circle, and you'll miss out on the only place in the world where you can actually buy a 2 Hour Circle burger. So he has a burger in his cafe called the 2 Hour Circle Power Burger.
Wow.
Which is really just a works burger with some hot chili sauce on it and a couple of extra ingredients. But it is a kick-ass burger, and you'll get that at Tilly's Cafe out at Moore. And don't blink, don't miss it. Make sure you pull into the little slip road there. And he's got a very themed little cafe there. He himself, I think that you could probably stand him in front of a room with no props whatsoever, and you could be entertained for hours. He's just that kind of guy. He's a bit of a card, you might say.
And how do you spell Moore?
That's M-O. It's M-O-R-E.
No,
M-O-O-R.
Yeah. Moore. M-O-O.
I'm getting confused. It's M-O-O-R-E.
Okay. So Moore. Okay, here we go. Moore. So I'm really curious where Moore is. Okay. So it's a rural town in the Somerset region in Queensland. Has a population of 296 people.
Yep, and those are the places that we like to visit. And it's the two-wheel tourists that keep these places going. If you drive through Fernvale on a Saturday or on a Sunday, you're going to see thousands of motorcycles and hot rods that park in the main street of Fernvale. Fernvale's not the only place that these guys visit. They go all the way out into the southeast corner. And because they do this, these little places are still kicking along, some of the pubs, the big fear for me when we first started the 2 Hour Circle was that it was going to look like a perpetual pub crawl. And I guess to some people it still looks that way. But the thing you have to remember is that these pubs hold the history of the town. And they sometimes would double as the hospital. Sometimes these pubs would double as the church. There's a church which is probably half an hour from where I live. There's a pub that was the church. So before the church was built, people would go to church at the pub. And then when church was finished, they'd pull away all of the white cloths and the bits and pieces and pack all that. And then they'd open the bar. So, the pubs hold some of the most fascinating parts of our history. People who stayed in the pubs were there because they had a job to do. And that job was usually the development of a community or the development of a railway station or a farm co-op or something along those lines. Everybody that came through there. And then there's our war history. There's a pub, again, probably half-hour drive from where I live. Now the pub's no longer functioning as a pub. It's now more accommodation than anything else. But there's a story there. I think in World War II, we had American soldiers staying out in the area, and talk about segregation. There was a African American soldier who wanted to drink in the bar where the MPs were, and the MPs have said, "Mate, you can't come in here. The rules are that you have to stay outside." And he's going, "Well, mate, that's not fair. We're all fighting in the same war. We're all serving the same country. I want to have a beer." So he stood his ground. Unfortunately, that meant that he was shot, and his ghost now haunts that pub. So there's no end to fascinating, sad, funny, tearjerkers. We've had stories that have just had us laughing all the way home, and we've had stories that just stop and make you think. I can't believe that happened just a hop, skip, and a jump from where I live. Here in Ipswich, I think the boys' grammar school is the ground for one of the I think most iconic. I can't find the words, but there was a battle between two Aboriginal tribes that happened probably a stone's throw from where we're sitting right now. So there's so much if you just take the time to look. Now, one of the other things that I tend to do is I will stop at the local cemetery for most of the towns that I visit. Now, there's a reason that I do this. It's not because I have a macabre fascination with cemeteries. I certainly don't. Yeah. But you can learn so much from a cemetery. What you're going to get from a cemetery is a timeline. All right. So you will get an idea as to when the area was settled. You'll get an idea as to how old the area is. You get an area of the basis of their culture. So whether they're German, Dutch, there's a lot of German settlements around Ipswich, and the names on the tombstones will tell you, whether these people are German settlers or Scottish settlement. So I think out towards Allara, you'll find it's more Scottish heritage than it is German, and so on and so forth. But these people all came over here to make a go of it, and you can see if there's a lot of tombstones all in a row with the same date, it usually represents some kind of significant, whether it might have been a plague of some sort or a natural disaster of some sort. You can tell all of that if you know what to look for by just taking the time to stop and walk through the local cemetery. You can tell which families had money and which ones didn't. There's so much to be learned if you know what you're looking for.
We can learn so much from history. It's almost like history repeating itself. Some people are saying, well, what's going on in the world currently
You
with
could
these
say that.
restrictions? They're
We
saying
try
it's
and
like,
keep a positive spin on things, and we do it with
yeah,
a sense of
yeah,
humour as well.
yeah.
We don't mind a beer. Of course, we never drink and drive. We're very, very sensible when it comes to that kind of thing. But we're not shy. We'll stop in at the pub and have a beer and that sort of stuff, and talk to the locals, because we want the locals to know what we're doing. And it is very much at its roots, it is a community project that is there to keep these little places going. And if you haven't had a visit from the 2 Hour Circle and you'd like a visit from the 2 Hour Circle, hey, give us a shout. We'll make the time. We'll come out and say hello.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing with ghosts, ghosts have been given such a bad reputation by Hollywood, right? People get very scared of ghosts, but often it's just people or spirits that have passed to the other side that just want to communicate something, is often the way it goes with people that I've worked with, So I don't think ghosts are necessarily a bad thing, but definitely Hollywood has painted ghosts out to be a really,
Well,
horrible
they
thing,
won't sell
something
tickets
scary.
if they, yeah. I mean, that's what they've got to do. Unfortunately, you've got to put a spin on it that's gonna get the biggest audience. So for me, if I ever bump into a ghost, I just want you to tell me where the money's buried. That's all I need to know. That's all I need. If you
I'm
could
sure
just
they'd
help
have
me out
lots
with
of,
that,
yeah, they'd have lots
that'd
of
be great.
wisdom. I'm sure they would. So Anita, Sonia here, Sonia in Bali, she's saying there's so many here, so many ghosts. I can show you where they are. She says they hate me.
Oh,
Oh, Sonia, that's funny. Well, they're not going to do you any harm because they can't enter this realm now, right? They're in another realm. So so nothing to fear there, but definitely fascinating history. And I know too that at different times of year, it's going to be obviously different as well to see some of these places. Like the brass monkey season is very popular out, around the ranges there, out from Ipswich to Toowoomba, out that area, the brass monkey season. So in wintertime, it's actually a very special feeling out in some of these places. It's quite different to summer. So, so venturing out at different times of year is really great as well.
well,
So,
it's funny
yeah,
you should. It's funny
yeah,
you should say that, because we're going to spend the first quarter of next year working the Toowoomba region. And we've kind of been a little bit smart about that, because it does get kind of cool up there in the hills.
yes,
So
yes, it does.
we'll probably be starting to get out of the Toowoomba area once it starts to cool down a little bit. And I'm going to tell you, there might have been a little bit of strategy in there, just a tiny bit.
So some people love the cold, and they do have beautiful fireplaces up there and great wine, and all sorts
Without
of
a doubt.
beautiful chocolate and cherries and lovely stone fruit out there. I remember when I did some famils with Tourism Queensland back in the day, and I was writing for the Queensland Times and also for satellite newspapers in the Centenary suburbs area of Brisbane. I used to go out there quite a bit. And I lived in Toowoomba also for a small while too, working for Winalong Publishing. I was a graphic designer there for a little while too. So there's some great information. Just talking about Moore before, the tiny little town of Moore with 296 people. There's a link I've popped here from the Queensland.com site as a place to see destination. And it says there it's a beautiful little town. And they've got a supper room art gallery there. They've got More Soldiers Memorial Hall, quaint cafes, many beautiful artwork, delicious treats, cakes, etc. I always love, I must say, the treats that you get there, the cafes and the little local cafes. You get such beautiful, as you say, some of the best coffee you'll find in More, and always beautiful homemade things you find. It's just, it feels so homely when you go into these little towns often.
Well,
so
I mean, we went into the Harlan Hotel for the very first time. And believe it or not, there's pubs in the 2 Hour Circle we haven't visited yet. I know I said that out loud. But we went to the Harlan Hotel recently, and these guys are turning on the food. The quality of food that you can get out there in the regions is astounding. So don't forget that we are right on the very edge of the food bowl. All of our local produce comes from just out the road here. But the food that these pubs are turning on, like I went, I'm going to be a bit naughty. I'm going to have the rack of ribs, and Well, I thought that maybe they'd been keeping dinosaurs out the back or something, because they almost needed two blokes to bring it and put it on the table.
Oh my
But
goodness.
a bloke like me is not going to struggle to get a decent sized meal out there in the regions.
Yes.
I think the old steak and egg style pub now has sort of gone to the way of the dodos, because these guys have to compete. And I'm telling you, they are competing. The food that is available out in the 2 hour circle in these old pubs is world class. It's good food, it's value for money, and you will not go hungry. And if you're not washing that down with 2 or 3 cold beers, then you're not eating enough. You get out there, guys, and get into it, because it's amazing that, like, I go to some of these places and my expectations are not set high, and I'm always impressed with what comes to the table. The food that these guys are bringing out is absolutely amazing.
Wonderful. We've got Scott Somerville here saying great feed at the Harlan Hotel. He agrees there. Great feed. What's your favourite meal there, Scott? Love to hear from you. What's your favourite meal? And for those joining us, thank you so much for joining us. Where are you joining us from right now? Whereabouts in the world are you? And what are some of your favourite local destinations that maybe we can put out to the 2 hour circle and beyond to come and visit you, or perhaps another licensee somewhere else around Australia or New Zealand who'd like to share the beauty of the area, the food history and the occasional mystery of the area. So before the 2 hour circle, Dallas, what were you doing up until then?
Before then,
Yeah.
I was a fairly well-known real estate agent in the area.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So, but I think real estate's one of those games where you're either in or you're not. And I think I got to a point where I wasn't anymore. I sort of run out of steam, and
Right.
I think that with real estate, you got to push all your chips into the middle of the table, and you've got to back yourself. And when I was in it back in the 90s, I was all in. And then came back into it after about 20 years off, and I came back and I was all in. But I just didn't have that stamina. I didn't have that go that I used to have. So I just decided to be honest with myself and go, you know what, time to go and do something else.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because real estate, you're visiting places, aren't you? You're visiting homes, etc. But I guess now you're visiting some really unique, touristy
A lot
type
of the skills
destinations.
that I picked up in the real estate world are certainly transferable. That's for sure for what we're doing. So full respect for what the guys out there who are still in the biz are doing. It's one of those industries where there's always going to be the odd rat bag.
Yes.
It is what it is. But, those skills that I picked up from the industry have certainly been easily transferred into what we do here at the 2 hour circle, for sure.
And there's some great real estate agents out there, and there's some really dodgy ones, I guess, like any industry. But I do know that most real estate agents work really hard. They work long hours. Often their weekends are taken up with open homes and auctions and all sorts of things. So, so it's. I know it takes something to be in real estate, and you need a lot of stamina, and you need a lot of belief in what you do, and you need to be a very good people person, I would imagine, too, Dallas, to be doing real estate.
Yeah, I'm not a people person at all.
Yeah, no, you're not at all. And you have a shocking sense of humour, so that would never work for you.
And I don't like it.
You have a great sense of humour. You have a very dry sense of humour. I like it. Now, Scott says salt and pepper squid is his favourite. Thank you for sharing that. That's from the Harlan Hotel. And what are some of your other favourite little places, Dallas? Where else can you share with us?
There is a little place called Forest Hill, and I think Forest Hill is one of the very first places we visited as the concept evolved. Now, out there are 2 pubs, and they're both owned by the same gentleman. Now, there's a story attached to one of those pubs. So the older, less renovated, or was at the time, pub is the one where the stories are, oddly enough. It also has a really popular restaurant there after dark, where I've never been. I keep putting that on my to-do list. Sharon, would you please write that down? We have to get out there. They've got a fascinating little restaurant out there that goes gangbusters after dark. But the story behind that pub, now, we always do a little bit of digging and a little bit of research before we land in any these little towns. Now, We were quite surprised to find out from the publican to say that there is still, and it's current even today, there is a $10,000 reward for anyone bringing knowledge with regards to who tried to blow the old pub up.
Oh,
There's a
wow.
it's the reward is still that we found a copy of the notice from the government saying that there's a $10,000 reward if you can tell us who it was who tried to blow up the pub across the road.
Wow.
I think back in the 1980s, if you were curious enough to do a bit of research. So and we stumble across that kind of stuff all the time.
Wow.
There's always much more to, and we're always going to run into somebody and go, oh yes, my grandmother used to go down there and she used to do the laundry and talk to such and such and that sort of stuff. And that's generally where we find the ghost stories and that sort of stuff. But the best part about what we do is that we have so many people who want to tell us their story, and we quite often don't have the time to it's quite hard sometimes not to be rude, because people want to tell us their story and they want to tell us this, and we're busy trying to get what we've got to done within a certain time frame. But we encourage people to put these stories in the comments below, and sometimes the comments below are much more interesting than the video itself. So people will come forward and say, oh yes, I used to go down there as a child and I used to get this, and that's where I used to buy my school uniforms or buy ice cream, or granddad had a butter churner down there or whatever. There's always some fascinating content that comes out, not so much in the videos themselves, but after the video. And so we absolutely encourage people, if you are watching the video, leave a comment below. Always, we're interested in your 2 bobs worth. The other thing that I will say is that I don't know everything. I know a lot, but I certainly don't know everything.
Yes.
And sometimes I'll get it wrong. See, the problem with history is it depends on what pub you heard it in. And a story will evolve from pub to pub. We try and stay as close to accurate as we possibly can, but sometimes we get it wrong. And we love it when people go, hey, that's not quite right. What you said there is not entirely accurate. We don't have a problem with that. We encourage people to do that, because the problem with history is that not a lot of it was recorded. A lot of it is in the memories of other people. And as we all know, as we get older, our memories are not as good as we'd like them to be, that sort of stuff. But there are some things that people remember like it was yesterday, and those are the sort of things that we encourage people to come forward and talk to us and let us know. If we got it wrong, or you can elaborate on something, we absolutely encourage you to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, how else do we find out, right, if people don't come forward? So, and Scott's given a great suggestion here. Get Chopped Diner at Woodford is a magnificent feed as well, he says. Get Chopped Diner at Woodford. I do love Woodford. I've actually been to the Woodford Folk Festival for over 15 years. I was emceeing out there for years, and love the festival there, and love the little Woodford town as well through there in the Sunshine Coast hinterland area. About half an hour inland from Caboolture. Beautiful, beautiful spots, some beautiful locations around there. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Scott. And for anyone else watching, let us know in the comments if you know about a unique story or a unique place within a 2-hour circle and beyond of your destination or your location, wherever you are. We'd love to hear about it. And I'm sure Dallas is always on the hunt for interesting locations and places with amazing food, with amazing history, and of course the occasional mystery.
Well, I think we're at the point now where we can pretty much guarantee quality content on the 2-Hour Circle Facebook page almost every day. You will get quality content on our Facebook page almost every day. And I don't see us running out of content at least for another 10 years.
No.
And by then, there'll be all new content.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's such a great celebration of, Australia, New Zealand, wherever this ends up expanding out to. And here is the Facebook page if you'd like to connect there, facebook.com/the 2-Hour Circle, the 2-Hour Circle with the number 2. and you'll get lots of great content there. Also, mobile number there. I presume that's your mobile number, is it, Dallas?
It is.
On there. Okay, so you can contact Dallas directly from that link as well.
Please send a text. Don't ring me.
Send a text.
Don't just send a text. I'll call you back.
He's a very busy man. Yes, good idea. And, your X factor is your story, my friends. Those watching us right now, your X factor is your story. No one else has your story. And, Dallas, you've got very good support with Sandra there. How long have you been married?
With Sharon?
Oh, Sharon, sorry.
Well, we've been together for, probably 30 years now, and she still hasn't buried me in the backyard. So
30
we're doing all right.
Amazing. And what's the secret to your long marriage, would you say?
I'll go to work every day. Don't hang around at home.
Sharon's great support for you there. Beautiful,
she
Sharon.
Is. A lot of the stuff that I can't get done behind the scenes is done by her. But as I said, we've got to the point now where I can't delegate anymore to her. I've taken on as much as I can. So we are growing. But I think a great musician once said that applause is the food of an artist. A standing ovation is like the greatest meal that you'll ever have. But for us, it's hitting that like button. Hitting that like button is the big reward for us right now. Hitting that like button, support what we do, and be there for when the great stories pop up. Some of the stories might be a bit hit and miss. It might not be what you're interested in on the day. But I promise you, one day there's going to be a story that's going to pop up and you go, oh my God, I really need to get out there and see that. It happens all the time. And the reason I know that is because people come up to me in the street and they talk about stories that I posted yonks ago and I'd forgotten about it. And they go, oh yes, I saw you, Facebook have dragged it up, or something has happened with the algorithm, or they've managed to stumble across it, or someone shared it. I don't know, but they'll come up and say, oh, I saw your story on such and such a place the other day, and I haven't been out there for years, and the missus and I are going to get in the car and go out there this weekend and have a meal at the pub. That's what we like to hear. To me, that's music to my ears. That's better than a check, to be honest.
Yes. I think it's a great Australian story. In fact, it would make a great documentary down the track on Australian story. And Melinda's saying here, there's a nice coffee shop at Peachester. On Friday, they have live jazz. And for those who don't know where Peachester is, it is in the Sunshine Coast hinterland area, in the region of the Sunshine Coast inland near the Glasshouse electorate area, and there's 1,357 people in Peachester. So under 1,400 people you'll find in that little town.
Well, hello, Peachester from the 2 Hour Circle. We'll get out there, we promise.
Yes, absolutely. So you might want to connect with Melinda when you get out there. Got to go, really big storm. Oh, Melinda, yes, we've got storms could be happening here on the Gold Coast too at any moment. So look after yourself out there for those bracing storms right now. That could be part of the occasional mystery, how to deal with the storms in the regions. And you get some pretty big ones out your way too, don't you, Dallas?
Well, that's what verandas are for.
Yes.
And cold beer.
Yes. Just stay indoors. Fantastic. So you want more licensees now from Australia, New Zealand. How big can you see this going down the track? What's your longer term goal?
Well, the sky's the limit, really, isn't it? It depends on whether or not you're willing to do the work. And whether you approach it with a level of enthusiasm. We'd like to see a couple of girls come on board. I have an image of a young girl, driving a Hilux around some of the areas out west. Get out there in your Hilux and your Cobra and tell us about your 2 Hour Circle. Come on board. I can, if that girl's out there, I want a phone call. Get in touch, because there's so much out there that I won't get to because I'm one person. There's potentially a guy in Sydney who's thinking about coming on board. Now, he's there in the Blue Mountains. Now, talk about history. Sydney is right where it all started. So to be feeding that back to us here in Ipswich, I think that'd be a massive step forward for the 2 Hour Circle. We'd love to see that. South Australia, Victoria, any of those places have amazing history, and we want to link it all together. And the food side of things, we quite often get a little bit of I don't know, you might call it sledging from the boys in Tasmania. Every time we post a picture of a burger or something, they go, that's not a burger. Come on down here, we'll show you a burger. Well, we encourage that. We want to see that, I don't mind comparing steak dinners. Do you? What do you reckon?
No, I think it's great. It's great to see how creative people get in the towns.
Yeah. There's so much fun and there's so many experiences to be had. I mean, you're not going to see us at Dreamworld or any of those places because, they've got millions of dollars of their own marketing money. They don't need a guy like me sprouting for them. I think where our strength is getting in behind those smaller businesses and those tiny towns and the food and beverage industry, because those guys are working hard at the moment. Roscoe up around here at the corner at Fourth Child. I drive past his business like 3 or 4 times a day. He's always there at that coffee machine. He's driving that business and he's working, he's working to get the dollars in and he's working to pay his staff and that sort of stuff. And we love the fact that we are right behind him there, helping people to know that he's there doing what he does so that you've got somewhere to go. I mean, remember, like I said, 20 years ago in Ipswich, you couldn't get a cup of coffee. You were lucky if you could get a scone and a cup of tea. Anything better than fish and chips wrapped in newspaper, and that was all that was on offer. Now you have got some of the best eateries around, from all different walks of life, all different cultures. We are not just a meat and potatoes venture either. We love the multicultural things. We have plans. So watch this space. There is a restaurant. Where is it that? You want to go? There's an Ethiopian restaurant that Sharon's uncovered, and we're going to go there and we're going to check it out. We're going to do a write-up from our perspective. Our write-ups are always blue collar. It's not some bloke looking down his snotty nose and sniffing the wine and all that sort of nonsense talking like that. It's none of that really. We talk to you the way you talk in general. We want the bloke reading the article to go, you know what, I might grab the missus and take her down there for a feed on the weekend. That's who we are. And we will review anything that is 5-star all the way down to a bloody hot dog. If I stumble across a hot dog that is the best hot dog I've ever tasted, I'm going to tell you about it. If I wander into a 5-star restaurant and I have a great experience, I'm going to tell you about it, but I'm going to give it to you from my perspective. No one's looking down their nose at you. We believe that all experiences are available to all people. And we want to give you the opportunity to then make the decision. You know what? I might just jump in there on the weekend and go and check that out.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful that you're supporting these small business operators, the little hidden away gems a lot of people don't know about. Now, Melinda's got a comment here, which I was going to ask you about this too. Now, she says, yes, the little coffee shop, nice coffee shop at Peachester, she says, is just across from the park in Peachester for anyone going down there, and she's going to give us feedback on coffee shops as she finds them. And she says, stop with the young thing, constantly mature people are rejected. Now that is a good point, particularly in media, because you mentioned young girls. So what about older girls or older guys?
Welcome, please.
Welcome, they're welcome.
Absolutely.
Excellent. There you go, Melinda.
You bring a life history, a history of your own, and I think that that's a very valuable asset. I think the idea of having the young girls involved is because we want them to dive in, boots and all, and experience what's there. Older generation, I suppose, we've had the experiences and we have so much to share. So bring it on. If you want to jump
bring
on
the
board,
older ones on.
talk to me.
It's very well known that young girls are very marketable. They help sell things better. However, I think it's great that you have some older people too with more experience that can share about the area as well. I think, age-wise, I think the brains are important as well as the looks, right? So you want someone who can hold a conversation, someone who is inquisitive, someone who's not all about looking good, right? It needs to be let the ego go and really focus on what they can deliver from the area, I would imagine is what you'd be looking for. Is that right, Dallas?
Well, I look in the mirror
as far as your
and I still frighten myself. I don't know. I don't know how I haven't managed to break the camera, but I'm doing all right. Doing all right.
Yeah.
There's nothing pretty about me.
So Melinda says, she says, really awesome, the roving radio reporter. Well, there you go,
Yeah,
or TV reporter.
absolutely.
You need video, right? It's not just audio. You want video?
We do like video. We can accommodate audio, but video is preferable.
Video
We try and keep it. At one stage, and it's all a learning curve. At one stage, we were producing video that was like 10 minutes long, and we had a small audience of people that were happy to sit there and watch a 10-minute video, but it was a very, very small audience. So unfortunately, we had to come up with the old adage, which is less is more. So you won't see anything from us now where a video is any longer than 3 minutes, I don't think.
Got it.
And that's why we've had to. Why we've had to bring in things like websites, and we're trying to get more adept at the Spotify field and that sort of stuff. Those are the sort of things that we're learning and working our way towards now, because there's always opportunities for us to give more information. But the Rides and Drives blog is something that we want to do more of, because it allows us to do a little bit more detail than what you will get from a video.
Yeah, I like that. And Melinda says, yes, brains before beauty, lol.
Absolutely.
Well, brains always go further, right? Beauty is only skin deep for a lot of people, and then once you get past that, there's not much there often. So, I often say the more attractive they are, the less they've got the brains going on. The more brains they've got, the less beauty they've got going on. Often, not always. Of course, we're an exception to the rule
that's
here.
That's what I'm doing.
Dalase.
I'm too pretty.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I just figured it out. I'm too pretty. That's why I can't, no brains, because I'm too pretty.
Melinda says, yes, it burns up the mobile phone battery if the video is too long. Well, that can happen too. It could definitely get quite hot on the mobile. And Melinda's suggesting go out and visit Paul and his staff at the camel farm. Oh, that sounds like fun.
We've worked quite closely with the camel farm over time.
Ah, very good. I'll have to go and see the camel farm. And Scott's saying, if you like chocolate and lollies, try the post office at Calbar.
Oh, see, now, Postmasters Sweets, now they're a sponsor of ours, but you talk about nostalgia. If you go and see Linnea at Postmasters Sweets, which is at the old post office. Now I'm going to try and keep this brief, but the old post office is the original post office, but it's not in its original location. So it was moved to where it is now. But she's been quite clever, and what she's done is she's combined her post office with a lolly shop, which is where you will find all of the lollies and confectionery that you used to buy when you were a kid. And you walk in there, and your jaw drops, and you just think, oh my God, do you remember, what do we call them? Fags?
Yeah.
The little cigarettes that used to walk around, the kids go, like you were one of the cool kids. Well, you can buy those.
Oh my goodness.
And all of the old, they do fudges. Now, my wife is a fudge fan. If you like fudge, you're gonna spend probably the full contents of your credit card in there, I would suggest. Which is why I don't hand mine out to the missus when she goes out there.
All right.
But yeah, some of the lollies out there, you just look and go, oh my God, I haven't seen these since I was a kid. We used to go to I remember, you'd have 20 cents in your pocket, and you could walk into the corner store and you could buy a big bag full of lollies, and you had more friends than you had flies. And all of that stuff is available right out there at Postmasters Sweets at Calbar.
Calbar, there you go. Thank you for that suggestion, Scott. That's great. And Melinda says, no, with the right combination of both, the beauty and the brains, she says. So there are exceptions to every rule, of course, Melinda. Thank you. Oh, I love that.
I think what we need to do is go and have a coffee with Melinda at some point.
Yes, I think so, at that little coffee shop that she's talking about across from the park in Peachester. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. We've been chatting for nearly an hour and 10 minutes already, Dallas. I could just keep chatting to you. There's so much amazingness coming out of your mouth here. So I'm just loving hearing all the little stories.
Did you hear that, Sharon? Did she?
Sharon knows. She's been with you 30 years. She's seen it all. So Melinda says, if you're a chocoholic, go see Caitlin at 31 Degrees Custom Chocolate in Wollongabba. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
That's what happens with the 2 Hour Circle. We start talking about what's hidden, and it will all bubble to the surface. There's so much out there.
I love it. And, I've lived on the Gold Coast for 21 years now, and I'm still discovering beautiful little gems and places around here in 21 years. It's quite phenomenal. Beautiful little cafe I found in Varsity Lakes the other day. It had so much character. Beautiful little spot. So yeah, just it had sort of murals on the walls. I was like, where's this place been? They've been there for a while. They did home brew, sort of all sorts of interesting gins and different tonics and things. And yeah, I just didn't even know about it. So there you go. There are many hidden gems out there. So please let us know about it. For those watching the replay of this, wherever you're watching it, pop into the comments there. Or if you know of any interesting stories, or reach out to the 2 Hour Circle. Is there anything else you want to cover, Dallas, before we wrap up?
No, I think, like I said, the best thing that you can do right now is just to smash that like button. And by doing that, you will give yourself access to food, history, and the occasional mystery. You'll have access to 5 very knowledgeable presenters. You'll have access to all of our experiences, whether you're a Facebook fan or otherwise. If you're not a Facebook fan, you'll probably catch most of what we do on YouTube, but you can always jump on the website and you'll be able to find what we've got going on. And of course, there's Instagram as well. So
yeah, beautiful.
You won't struggle to find us.
No, that's wonderful. The 2hourcircle.com.au, you can see it up on the screen there. So if you go there, that is linked to all the social media, to Facebook and Instagram, etc. And also we've got a few more coming in. Melinda says the Fudge shop at Tagulawa. Oh, the Fudge shop there. Oh, okay. Sharon's going to love that one. Okay. So just giving Sharon some more shopping to do over at the Fudge shop at Tagulawa.
I might have to go and have a chat to the bank manager, I feel.
Oh, yeah. Melinda says, I'm biased because it's my talented niece. I think she's talking about the 31 Degrees Custom Chocolate in Wollongabba.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with a little bias. Nothing wrong with a little bias.
It's in the family there, Melinda. Very good. Well, you must have some interesting family history there that maybe you could share with Dallas at some point. That sounds fantastic. And a huge thank you to the sponsors of this show. Big thanks to Respected Cleaners, to Luke, and we'll pop his Facebook in here. So if you guys could support Respected Cleaners, that would be wonderful. Here they are, Respected Cleaners.
If you jump on the website, you'll see that we have, I think there's about 30 other sponsors. And without the sponsors, we could not do what we do. The sponsors really are, I guess, the local heroes when it comes down to it, because these guys are funding our expeditions and keeping us on the road, and they believe in what we're doing. So, we generally get maybe 2 sponsors from some of the towns that we visit, but these guys are making it possible for us to support these smaller businesses. We are essentially an extension of their business, because we're out there keeping other businesses afloat, because they've put the dollars in to help us, get out there.
Wonderful. So thank you so much to Luke from Respected Cleaners, and that is the logo to look out for up in the top corner there, and the Facebook page, facebook.com/Respected Cleaners. You will find them. Wonderful, wonderful support there. Any final words there, Dallas, before we wrap up?
No, just get out there and explore what we like to call the 2 Hour Circle.
Wonderful. Explore the 2 Hour Circle. And Melinda's saying, yes, I was there yesterday. So good. 31 Degrees is my niece. Oh, that's her niece that runs that 31 Degrees. Got it. Custom chocolate. Yum, yum. I love chocolate. Oh, and it's perfect timing for Christmas. Of course, the diets will be starting after Christmas, as they always do, right? The New Year's resolution is always to lose that weight that we put on over Christmas. So for those watching this, hope you have a wonderful Christmas and festive season, and check out the 2 Hour Circle. It is a fantastic initiative. Congratulations, Dallas, on everything you've done and how far you've come in 3 years. It really is wonderful. And to all your presenters as well, the 5 presenters all around Australia at the moment. And of course, remember that Dallas is looking for licensees as well. And congratulations to Sharon, also in the background, doing all the hard work behind the scenes there and eating the fudge on these trips.
Behind every good man.
Yeah,
There's
that's
someone
right.
cracking the whip.
Good on you, Sharon. That's the spirit. In a loving way. I'm sure she's doing it in a very, very loving way. We're always spreading love here at Media Queen TV. There's my little love heart there. Linda says, an excuse to eat. Don't call me late for dinner. Yes, happy Christmas. I love it, Melinda. Thank you so much for your participation here. And of course, for those that want to connect with me, just head over to Linktree/Aldwyn. That's got all my links over there. I do have some events coming up in January. We've got the Free Publicity Secrets Masterclass coming up January 11 a.m. Queensland time. We have a social media masterclass coming up February 10 at 10 a.m. And today is the last day to participate in the Global Good News Challenge for December 2021. We have a 12-day challenge that you can start up until midnight tonight, the 17th of December 2021, wherever you are in the world. And that's a great way to share gratitude and good news and lift the energy on the planet, lift your energy, lift the energy of those around you, because no matter what is going on in the world, there's always something we can be grateful for, and things can always be worse. So let's be grateful for what we have. And I think the 2-hour circle is a fantastic idea to celebrate all the beauty that is around us, these hidden gems that we don't know about. And if you want to know more, check out their website. We have mentioned a few times the 2hourcircle.com.au, which will link to their social media, and you'll see so much more beauty and gems. There it is, the 2-hour circle and beyond. And beyond. Fantastic initiative here by Dalase Shilling. Congratulations once again. And thank you so much for joining us at Media Queen TV here today, Dalase.
It's been fun. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, and all the best. I can't wait to see how you go from here, and all the new licensees that come on board, and places that are discovered around Australia that many people don't know anything about.
All I can say is watch this space.
Watch this space. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And as Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. As I say, shine bright and light up all those around you. Thanks once again for watching. We'll see you again soon. If you like what you've seen, then share the love. Let us know what you've learned today, and share this video. Make sure you subscribe, Media Queen TV on YouTube, and share the love. Thank you so much. Melinda says, bye. Awesome as usual. Thank you so much. Thank you, Melinda. We'll catch up soon. Absolutely. And remember to let the people in your life know that you love them. Let's keep spreading the love. And that's all you need, right? All you need is love. All you need is love and some good food and history and the occasional mystery. That's all you need, my friends.
Okay. Everyone loves a mystery.
Yes. Thanks so much. All right, signing out from Media Queen TV, Aldwyn and Dalase. Thanks so much once again for joining us. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world. We'll see you again soon. Bye.